The spirit inside of me is telling me to speak about Apophis again. And I suppose in a different way, maybe with a little bit more understanding. Can you remember what the scriptures say? What both Paul and David say? You know, the fool said in his heart, there is no God. And the message of the cross is foolishness to those who are perishing. Well, I want to draw on those comparisons, okay? And this is about, this is about my own journey. I'm just making a contrast. If you are watchmen and watchwomen, are there really prophets today, or are they all false? Jesus told us, do not be deceived. And it's not hard to tell that that has come full circle. That this is here to its, I don't know if it's going to get any stronger than it is right now. Because for it to get stronger, it would have to be, I don't know how it could be anyways, because everyone has the ability to speak on a video, right? There are two things that I didn't think were foolish, but actually let's start with this quick example. Trying to think here. You know, when you walk into, you may say you're a believer of Jesus Christ, but really you're not. You don't have faith, and that is the key to the door. And it took a lot to get to that spot where you actually developed faith. You stopped dissensions, you stopped those things because you care about people and you just want to be saved. It seems like it was almost a miracle to get there, right? In the same way, do you not see all the things that are happening in this world? Don't be desensitized to the things that are happening in this world. Because that's what they want. They want you to be adhered and to violence and to fill your countries with immigration and cause violence and change the laws. Isn't that not what they're doing? In almost every single country, they've turned on their people. What would you call that? We know when it began. It began in 2020. And so they've been doing things that are not good for us, that are actually evil. And those are the days we live in, and they came very quickly. And I don't think any of it could have happened without the internet. It couldn't have. But, so it took so far to get to that journey, right? Where you can see the very saying, we shall know the times and the seasons. There's no reason why I should have to write to you. You will know it when it comes. Right? You'll know it when you see it. So when you see, like, before 2020, was there a huge earthquake every week and a volcano together? Or were there 3 in 1 week? There were 26 or 27 major floods just in the United States that, they were bad floods. You saw them all. Before then, was that happening? Of course it wasn't. And that's not to speak about the rest of the world, like China and Iran and, just all the strange storms happening all over the globe. So we know in our hearts, and there's no reason why I should have to write to you about it. But there will be people who come across this video and say, this guy's a fool. He has no idea what he's talking about. And that's the way it is. That's the way that things happen until things come upon you. although I want, and I think it's very interesting about Apophis, and also about the Antichrist, who is Donald J. Trump, you may think I'm a fool at both of them. And that's fine. I'm willing to take that. That doesn't cause me pain. That doesn't cause me discomfort. Because I've been convinced in my own spirit that it is true, based on all the scriptural knowledge that we have, the prophets and everything before them. So when you're desensitized to these things, you start to, that's why the love will wax cold, because you'll see violence, you'll see strange stuff. But you and I are not meant to become in that world. They're always changing things, the newest thing, like I said in my last video. So it took a lot just to come into faith, right? Pardon me 1 second, my stomach. So when my friend, trying to think how long ago it was roughly a year and a couple months ago that he said, "There's nothing you can say to me. I see through this man. I know who he is." And at the moment I thought, this was in my heart, okay? You know the pride that can come up in a person? How could you know and I not know? That's what came up in my heart. I didn't say he wasn't, but pride came up in my heart. Like, oh man, I've been studying scripture now for 4 years or 5 years. But yet children and babes can understand the gospel. I'm not saying that's, well, I suppose he'd still be a babe in Christ, but... And after a while, I started to see through that man and understand who he is. And understand that he's no normal man. That's not what this one is about. But he is the Antichrist. You may disagree with me. And if you know any other person that's ever lived on earth who has ever fulfilled, so... my guess is that he's already fulfilled more than half to 3/4 of the things that are said about his characteristics and what he will do, change laws. You think that's about the Sabbath? It's a good guess, but it's not that. It's not that. Because they're changing laws right under our noses. And that's how they will implement the digital ID. Mark of the Beast, I don't know if digital ID versus Neuralink. Neuralink's looking pretty good, but everything is fluid. You know, that's the way to look at it, like a Berean would look at it. Is what this man's saying true? So that's where I am. I understand who he is. I understand who Elon Musk is, who I believe is a false prophet. So it took a lot of faith to accept that holy man. I started looking at those compilations of him. Like, this man is this disgusting man. No one really knows what this guy says behind closed doors, or they don't look into his past of all the things he's done. They're willing to be blind about it and let it pass by. But we are Bible-believing Christians. We believe in Scripture only. And we know the characteristics of men. And we don't give anyone a pass for bad behavior. So in the same way that I had a little bit of difficulty with accepting who the Antichrist was, I saw this in a video. How long ago was it? Maybe 6 months ago. Maybe not even 6 months ago. It was probably 6 months ago. I saw it in a video. Someone made a video saying, "Is this the rock of Christ?" And I thought in my mind, oh man, you don't know what you're talking about. But the more I thought about it, and the more I thought about, wow, we're in the times right now. We know that Jesus said, when you see these things, he's at the door. So that means we're not in the last hours, we're in the last minutes of this life, of this age. The Essenes and their Jubilees say 2025. These are found in the cave of Qumran. They were the faithful priests of Zadok, the only priests who kept the traditions of God. They were the only priests who did not bow to Baal. The Pharisees and the Sadducees. You know, when the Greeks came through and changed everything, and they changed their calendars. And if you change your calendars, you change God's feast days and all those things. And that's what they did in those faithful priests. I can't wait to meet them in the kingdom of heaven and shake their hand. And they have a lot to do with this message today, but I can't get into depth about specifics like that because that's not my purpose here. So, and in case you've never seen me before, I have a lot of difficulty speaking for longer periods of time, and pain. So in the same way, I saw it. I saw the time that we're in, and when is it ever normal for the whole earth to be pounded by the sun? For, you know, my summer here in capital of Canada, it was like 40, some days were 42 degrees, horrible humidex for a straight month. I've never seen that in 47 years of my life. And neither has my dad, who's 80 years old. I don't think weather's been seen like this before. Sorry, guys. In our known history, I just know. The weather patterns are insane. You see crazy things in videos. And it's not because of that the internet, we have more, you know, and we can see more, we can report more. It's not like that. That's not what it is. They're insane storms. They're volcanoes that have no end. You know, like 4 major earthquakes in the same area, with a few volcanoes going off in that area. I mean, how many volcanoes have gone off in the last, if you compare that to, say, 2010 to 20, have you looked at the earthquake chart to see it's gone up double, like in the last 20 years? It's insane. Our earth is primed for something to happen. It has been happening. Major disasters all over the. So I don't need to write to you to tell you these things. You already know. So when I tell you this, why does it seem out there? So if Jesus is at the doors, we read in Revelation, trumpet 1-4, that something is going to come from the sky. And it says a star, and star in the Greek is asteroid, right? So an asteroid, we know an asteroid's going to come. Wormwood's going to come, a star, asteroid's going to come. I don't know how many things are going to come from the sky. So we know something is. So if you understand that the Antichrist is here, they've built a space force. You've seen it with their Star Trek-like things, the Space Force. Go look at the symbol. It's part of the hexagram. Don't you understand who these people are by now? Elon Musk and X, you know, Pharaoh, it's their hexagram, Freemasonry, all of it, Remphan, all of them. Molech, it's towards Satan. They're Satanists. And I can't get too far into that. So let's talk about Apophis. Let me take a little bite to eat. And I'm going to tell you what happened to me surrounding this. And the more that you let yourself accept, can these things be true? You start to realize that, holy, it's coming. The brothers that I do know in person around me here where I live, and any ones that I talk to, say by email and stuff like that, it's not easy to tell them about this, to convince them. That's on you. But I want you to hear me out anyways. There are quite a few now videos on this topic, but I want to do it the best justice that I can. So I saw that guy's video. He's like, this is the rock of Christ, the one that's made without human hands. You know, it's gonna, you know, we think of Daniel and the beasts, right? And all the kingdoms, and then one was cut out and it hit the feet and broken in pieces, which would be probably transhumanism, which they're working towards. Iron mixed with clay. You hear about all these different things. You hear about Three-Eye Atlas. There's no way that you can clarify if this is really there. We don't have telescopes to investigate this. And I had to look into this just before I did this video today. And we cannot clarify this except on that date that it comes. So it turns out it's like over 200 million miles away from us, Apophis. Not Three-Eye Atlas. I believe in all my heart, from all my studying and my spirit, that Apophis is Wormwood. So that one will be, you will be able to see it on that day. That's April 13th of 2029, and of all days it lands on a what's it called again? Oh man, why am I forgetting it? Friday the 13th. Of all days, that's the day that it's going to supposedly come by us. So this is what they are telling us. And even what they're telling us about it should be an existential threat. We have never faced anything like this in our known history. And if it's even true that 66 million years ago, the Yucatan Peninsula was hit with a massive 2-mile wide asteroid, whatever, as you can see a really big impact there that killed the dinosaurs. I'm not going to speak of that, but there's been nothing like that since. Not even the one that landed in Siberia, and the one that landed in Siberia in when was it? Let's just say within the last 100 years. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's close. It flattened, so it was in the late 1800s. It was much smaller than Apophis. I want to go look, but just because of my screen, just in case, I don't want this cut off. Let's just say, I'm going to take a guess, maybe it was 60 feet across. And it landed, they were lucky where it landed in Siberia. It flattened, I believe, hundreds of kilometers squared of forest. Just absolutely knocked down every single tree. You go look that up. That's not the Carrington event, but the Tunguska. Anything within that vicinity would be dead. That happened. We'll call it 100 years ago. So why is it so hard to believe that another one is coming? So this one, they've known since 2000, forgive me if I'm wrong, but it's close, 2002. And they gave the designation, so this is coming from NASA. So NASA's definition is, read the definition of NASA, it's deception. They are a deceiver. And on their symbol is the, forgive me the name, the Erebus. Anyways, it's the snake going around the planet, eating its own tail. The thing that you see on healthcare, you see the snake going up, don't think that's there for no reason. Pharmakia. But in their symbol is a red tongue, and it's a snake's tongue. Do you get it? It's a deception. It's a deception from day one. Don't believe me further? Why do they count down and say T minus 10, T minus 9, T minus 8? Why do they have to add in a T? No other places do that. NASA, NASA. You add the T to it and you get Satan. You can get Satan out of that. It's like Santa. Do you get it? T minus. It means we're minusing the T. The T really needs to be added. Go research that. I just found that out the other day. I believe as time goes on, you'll see these things. And what is called a sigil magic. All these years it's been there. They're just deceivers. You see the picture they gave of Three Eye Atlas? I'm not paying attention to it, but it's hard to miss. I just see the titles and suggested videos. Sometimes I'll click on them just to see what they're up to. But it's a big deception. They stand for deception. What do you think they're doing? Oh, we don't have funding, right? Because, the government shut down. We just suddenly, oh man, just got cut off. Boom. Yeah. We live in a very evil time. So since 2002, Tom Horn, thank God for Tom Horn. Although you may have seen him on shows like, Supernatural, he's just trying to get on and tell people about things. I believe that guy was a faithful man of God, and I love Tom Horn. And he was the type of person that went really in depth about things. And he said the top of his agenda, the thing he wants to know the most in this life right now, is Apophis. I saw it on a video. I watched him say that. Is Apophis. Because he believed, just like I have the conviction and keep making these videos, to tell you that it is Wormwood. It matches the time. But he died. But he said some things before it that are very important for you to know. In 2002, they've been knowing about this. And they have what was it? Forgive me the date, but it's been in the last 10 years. It probably wasn't even that long ago that they had the DART mission. The response to asteroids. They landed into an asteroid and redirected it. Space Force. Why do you think they made the Space Force? I don't know. It makes sense to have some type of planetary defense if you don't believe in God, right? That does make sense to do. It makes perfect sense to do if you don't believe in God. Because, of course, you would want to deter an asteroid, right? So, Tom Horn, I believe everything he said about this. He said he died in his bed, and his wife was trying to resuscitate him one night, and that was when he had a vision. He had a vision that he was on a hill. All of a sudden, there were thousands of people around him, and they were all running, and he saw Apophis coming down. I won't go further about that. I believe what he said. I keep saying I don't need Tom Horn to tell me that Apophis is Wormwood, and that's true. But he helped give a lot of detail to this. And he said some very specific things. Now, I don't study the feasts in depth and stuff. I feel in my heart I don't need to study those things in depth. I'll know those things if Jesus makes us, I think the feast we will have the Feast of Tabernacles and stuff like that, but I mean in depth. I'm not the most knowledgeable in those areas, but they designated Apophis 99942. Sigil magic. Do a reverse 666. And then I did a video telling people, add them up. Also add them up. It comes up to 33. So I made a video telling people, they keep telling us about 33. Just like 3i Atlas, it weighs 33 billion tons, as if they could know. The one that they're not talking about is Apophis, of course, because that one is really coming. And that will be visible to the naked eye. How long before? I don't know. Certainly on that day. Apophis stands for the god of chaos, a serpent god of chaos and destruction, a god of Egypt. He said, I believe this is Wormwood, of which I fully believe him. I almost feel like I'm speaking for him because he died and he didn't get to see what the outcome of this was. So keep listening very closely what I'm saying next. So we know by the book of the Jubilees, by the Essenes, that this is the end of the age in 2025. Something is going to happen. And you can see that they're trying to change everything, bring in digital IDs. Revelation 13, the mark of the beast. You see it. And if we're that close, right? This takes faith to believe in. It really does. And it doesn't mean you're saved and it doesn't mean you're not saved. But it provides a lot of hope. It really does. Because of the evil that we see on the earth. And so he said, because I believe this is Wormwood, all you have to do, so first go look at the book of Revelation, go through the seals, consider that the tribulation, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then, it says, and who can stand? They hide in the clefts of the rocks, and, the mighty men of the earth, the great, the poor, the rich, everyone hides in the rocks. Please fall on us. And because you and I are not destined to wrath, right? We know that it says at least a few times, well, it says about a few times in the Bible. One Revelation, Paul says it once, and there are other clues out there in the Old Testament too. But it says we are not destined to wrath. And this is where the pre-tribbers just don't understand. If we are not destined to wrath, we have to look when wrath begins. And in seal 6, it says twice that his wrath has come. So we know that the real rapture or the real protection that God is going to give us will occur then. So that tells us, from seal 1, which I'll say it in a second, from seal 1 to seal 7. So we're saved at seal 6. And if you look at 7 and then you start reading the pages after that, which I don't want to get into, it's clear that before, that has to be the midpoint area. Would you not think so? Because after that comes his wrath. You see it, I forget what comes right after, but you see people clothed in white and stuff like that, which this video is not about. I could make another video about that, about who those people are. But he deduced, as I do, that would be the midpoint of tribulation. Pretty easy to understand, right? Can you understand me so far? Once it gets to that point, that would be about the midpoint before trumpet 1 blows. And they take fire and they throw it, with the prayers of the saints, whatever, and the angel takes fire from the altar and throws it down to the earth, and there is the wrath begins. Also have to give breaks in my voice, man. So there the wrath begins. So Tom Horn said, if Apophis is Wormwood, which matches the time, man. Do you understand this thing? It's 1,400 feet long. So it's as long as the CN Tower. It used to be the tallest structure in the world for a long time. The CN Tower was pretty tall. It's as long as that. And it's almost as wide as that. So it's like 1,000 or 1,200 feet wide. It weighs 20 million metric tons, which is, picture a U.S. aircraft carrier. You know how big a city of steel, 5,000 people can go on those. They do go on those, sailors. Well, picture 200 of them landing in the sea. It's very clear that it lands in the sea, but also lands on other parts, so I can't distinguish exactly which trumpet is which. It appears there could be several, or it may be one. It may break up in certain ways that God wants it to break up and fall on the springs and on all those things. But kind of lost my thought there. He said, if that is the midpoint, and he died, he didn't get to see this fulfillment. He said, count back. If that's the midpoint, and here it is. Someone's going to say, no man knows the day or the hour. And stop for a second. We're getting into the feasts. No man knows the day or the hour except the Father in heaven. Also alludes to a saying of a feast that was given to the Jews. No man knows the day or the hour that the sliver of the moon will come out. And I forget, like I said, I'm not too knowledgeable about the feasts. But one of these feasts is the Feast of Trumpets. You know, we shall be saved at the last trump. So we know it says, by Paul, says we will be saved at the last trump. It's not trumpet. I don't believe it is. Or we'd be here for wrath. They call the last trump the last of the 100 blowings of the Feast of Trumpets. So it's fully possible. People get angry about this, and it's stupid. Don't get angry. Just, take in the information and discern it for yourself. It's possible that no man really knows the day or the hour, but it appears that that may be a clue. No man knows the day or the hour is a saying that they say in their feasts. The Feast of Trumpets. No man knows because it could be cloudy outside. You need two people to witnesses to see the new moon, right? Forgive me if I get and chop this up, but I think I'm correct. Is it possible that God gave us the very days? But in any case, even if you're thinking, no man knows the day or the hour, and it is, no matter what you think, that is in Revelation. You can measure it. It's roughly the midpoint. So let's say roughly. To those who think we really don't know the day or the hour, roughly. And if you also think about this, if no man knows the day, someone's going to guess one day of the year. Think about that. Someone's going to guess it one day. But the exact timing, no. Think about that, right? I don't really know, but I'm starting to see that I think he was giving us a clue. And that's why people get so up about the Feast of Trumpets. I get it now. But still, I don't put my heart on days like that. And that's not what I'm doing here. I'm trying to be very thorough with you. So that is the midpoint, roughly. When you look at Revelation, it is. Tom Horn came up with the idea that if it is, we can measure objectively by the date that Apophis, April 13th, 2029, Friday the 13th, that's the day that they're telling us that that's something that big, 20 million metric tons. This could be 80,000 times the power of Hiroshima. A partial planet killer And if it lands in the ocean, it'll be horrible. Man, it's really hard. I'm trying my best. That they're telling us that this thing is going to, this is what science is telling us, that it's going to come within 19,000 miles of Earth. Something that huge. That is an existential crisis, very close in time. But nobody talks about it. It's all about 3ILs. It's all about all these other things. Why aren't people talking about this? I don't think you're able to see it on that day anyways from here, but it's in Asia, it's in Australia, and in any case, I believe with all my heart it's going to hit. So Tom Horn said that count back 3.5 years and you'll land on the day of tribulation. Okay? Keep that in your mind. So you can look at my videos. I was talking about this when no one else was. I'm not trying to be prideful, but no one else was talking about this. I waited, and then I got so busy with my schooling, I forgot to look at the date. And I knew some major earthquakes, like one megathrust and two mega earthquakes happened in one day. And so I'm like, man, I forgot to look at the October 13th. It goes to October 13th. Count back 3.5 years. 7.5, right? And I started looking, and then it came to my mind. There was just a peace conference, the peace conference that Christians have been looking for our entire lives. In Sheik Egypt, of all places, the god of destruction and chaos, the Egyptian god, they were in Egypt. And it was the covenant with many. But we just haven't heard of it 7 years. I could not believe it landed on that day. There was a peace covenant. They were at a 20-foot table, and Trump, the Antichrist, was there at a big, long table by himself, showing his power, while behind him, all the major leaders of Western countries, every single one of them. But was the Middle East there? I think some of them were there, but it was a conference. And the whole Christian world was like, is this it? Of course it was it. We've been waiting for this forever. It landed on the day. What do you think Tom Horn would say right now? So we haven't heard the full details. We're waiting for the full details to hear if they made a covenant with many for 1 week. 7 years. It's an ongoing thing because of Israel and Saudi Arabia and just the war and everything. Do you not see what's happening? It landed on that day. What are the biblical and mathematical odds that it landed on that day? It is my belief tribulation began, from what I'm seeing in Scripture, it began on October 13th. You can watch my videos. I said, I'm looking. I was talking with you guys, to my regular viewers. Look to that day. And man, it happened. What would you call that? That was the Peace and Safety Conference. They had a massive sign, Peace 2025, Sheik Egypt. And then after that, they had a big concert at the pyramids. And they showed their lasers, and they did the big X. Do you understand? This is one big satanic ritual. That's what they did. This was a covenant with many. So I believe it began on October 13th, and you can see what they're doing. Now they're going to roll out digital IDs. Who knows what happens? I'm not going to presume anything. I only speak of what I know is already there. But I will give this a conclusion. I've been talking for 40 minutes. This should drive a lot of hope in your heart. It should. And, I don't care about video views. I don't care. I only look at my views when I go to make my next video. I'm telling you the truth. It's not that matters to me. Like, I really want to talk about this because if you can't see it, it's unfortunate. I'll just see what I want to say here. Just let me gather my thoughts. I know what the book of Revelation says. I know what the things are that you and I are supposed to be looking out for. They're here. And they've been here for some time. Do you not see what the mighty men of the earth are trying to do? I believe with all my heart. People talk about the Nephilim and those types of things. I don't try to get into that kind of talk, but I'll tell you this, though. I do not... Revelation 9, where, they come up out of the furnace and that type of stuff. Trump is Abaddon. Abaddon. He's Apollo, and he worships Apollo. He prospers by deceit. You don't understand, do you? I'm not going to diagnose the man, but this is what Trump's brother, who they literally casted out of the family in terms of because he became an airline pilot. They belittled him about that so much that he literally drank himself to death when in his 40s. But he had a daughter, Mary Trump. You can go look at her channel. She diagnoses him as NPD. Not to put anyone down who has personality disorders or mental health. That's not what I'm doing. But that should concern you. She's a psychologist. She's in the family. That should concern you because the mightiest men on earth, I'm the best at this, I'm the best at that. I did all this. Sound familiar? Does that not sound like Nebuchadnezzar? The power of Satan is behind Donald Trump. Everything about him speaks Freemasonry and Satanism. They're from MAGA. Go to thechurchofsatan.com. What does it stand? Don't even go there. Just what does MAGA mean? It's the highest position in thechurchofsatan.com. I don't want to get into all that. You can look back at my videos about that man. He is the man of lawlessness, the son of perdition, the worthless shepherd, the one spoken of for a long time, a vile man, a disgusting man, a deceitful man who prospers by deceit, who flatters and can be flattered. We've never seen a man like him, and who can wage war against the beast? It will grow daily. You'll see crazy things. This world will become much more lawless because they gain control out of chaos. And it began in 2020, not the tribulation, as some think, but it sure appears that that's when things really, they were testing us. They were seeing what can we get away with, what will it look like, and how can we implement it the better the next time that we throw out some type of crisis that we create. What more could we do? We will crash the economy. You look at the West, and that's not hard to see that the economies are doing horrifically. And they're doing it on purpose so they can rein in the mark of the beast. And, I implore you to watch my other videos. Like, why does Trump always make this sign? Why does Elon Musk always make this sign? Why is his company called X? Why is everything surrounding him satanic? Why does his Cybertruck a big triangle? Do you get who these people are? I'm just going to finish off with this. I'm glad that I see these things, but I think that God, it's apparent that God is right at the doors, and he will be here before 2031, and we will be saved much before then, is my belief. But Daniel saw a future. I can't pretend to say what Daniel saw, but he saw that knowledge would increase, which could mean a whole lot of things. I believe that he probably saw the internet and probably made him sick, and it makes me sick. I use the internet for good and studying and stuff like that, but it is the cancer of this world, and God will not let it stand. How long did it take? Social media really took off, they said, in 2015. So like YouTube really started up. It's only been 10 years and we're ripping ourselves apart. It's only been 10 years of real social media. People aren't having kids. Everything is backwards. Do you not see the cancer of this world? It's not just social media. It's connectivity. And now people are marrying robots. This is Satan. He's done a really, really good job of turning and reverting everything backwards. God bless, guys. I hope this has helped you in some way. It's just a sign to you and I that our salvation draws near. I believe Apophis, man, you're telling us something's going to come within closer than under the satellites? That big? And you're not even speaking about it? Man, and it's like, three Atlas. The next thing that they're saying, oh yeah, there's 7 jets that's starting to turn itself around. The next one will be like, they have fun with this. So like, suddenly it's cut half the distance and it's by the moon or something. This is what they do. And they're distracting us from everything that from Jesus Christ. God bless.